It is June 1941, and Operation Barbarossa is in full swing, and in the central sector, north of the Pripyat marshes, things went really wrong for the Soviets. This was primarily because it was where the main effort of the German offensive occurred, and it was against the second strongest military district in the USSR. Pavlov's Western Special Military District faced 2 German panzer groups as opposed to only 1 in the other sectors. These were the 3rd Panzer Group, which was under Colonel General Hermann Hoth, with 2 Panzer Corps and 4 Panzer Divisions consisting of mainly Panzer IIIs, and 2nd Panzer Group under Colonel General Heinz Guderian, with 3 Panzer Corps and 5 Panzer Divisions. In terms of overall equipment and support units, the 2nd Panzer Group was the most powerful panzer group in the Wehrmacht in June 1941, consisting of 5 panzer divisions, 2 infantry divisions, 2 motorized divisions, a cavalry division, and an anti-aircraft regiment. The 3rd Panzer Group launched its offensive north of the Bialystok salient and had already reached the Niemen River by midday on the 23rd of June. Despite several localized counterattacks by June 24th, leading elements of the 57th Panzer Corps had reached Vilnius, while the 39th Panzer Corps advanced rapidly towards Minsk. Meanwhile, 9th Army followed in support and placed immense pressure on the Soviet 3rd and 10th Armies around Bialystok, Grodno, and then Lida. Whilst all this was happening, the Luftwaffe was sent on a bombing raid over Minsk. Known as the Minsk Blitz, the Luftwaffe bombed Minsk with 3 waves of 47 aircraft each, as the bombing destroyed the city's water supply, making it impossible to put out fires. The poorly organized Soviet anti-aircraft defense led to panic and the evacuation of the city, and by the end, as much as 85% of the city's buildings and the entire infrastructure was destroyed, and more than 1,000 people were killed. The Minsk Blitz was the heaviest bombing of the city during the Second World War. By the next day on June 26th, 39th Panzer Corps was only 18 miles north of Minsk, while other elements of the corps headed for Borisov in order to cross the Beresina River, whilst the 57th Panzer Corps headed towards Polotsk on the upper Dvina River. The 2nd Panzer Group punched a hole through the 4th Army defences on the Bug River and bypassed the fortress of Brest-Litovsk, made short work of the 14th Mechanized Corps, and rapidly proceeded northeastwards. The 24th Panzer Corps crossed the Bug south of Brest and headed straight for Slutsk and Bobruisk on the Beresina River. Slutsk fell on the 26th of June, and Bobruisk was reached on the 28th to the 29th of June. By June 30th, the 24th Panzer Corps had secured a crossing of the Beresina River, and despite repeated counterattacks on the bridgehead, the 24th Panzer Corps was soon across. The 47th Panzer Corps crossed the Bug north of Brest, proceeded through Slonim, which was finally captured after fierce fighting from the Soviet defenders, and headed towards Boronovichi, which was captured on June 25th. The 47th Panzer Corps then wheeled northeast towards Minsk, where it linked up with the 3rd Panzer Group's 39th Panzer Corps on the 27th of June. The resultant Bialystok-Minsk pocket contained the Soviet 3rd and 10th Armies, and most of 4th and 13th Armies, which was almost the entire Western Front, and its reserves that existed on the 22nd of June 1941. Close behind the 2nd Panzer Group's main thrusts followed 46th Panzer Corps and 4th Army. 4th Army attacked north and northeastwards, and on the 28th its infantry linked up with 9th Army west of Bialystok, and thus the Bialystok-Minsk pocket was actually sliced into 2 major pockets, one centered around Bialystok and the other a much larger pocket east of Minsk.
Yes, we got encircled, and yes, we were fighting for our lives. But my god, did it look good on Reddit? It got so many likes!
It took until July 8th for these pockets to be destroyed by the German 4th and 9th Armies with the help of the Luftwaffe. yielding approximately 288,000 prisoners of war. The quick advance east created the possibility for the Wehrmacht to advance rapidly towards the land bridge of Smolensk, from which an attack on Moscow could be planned. It also created the impression in the OKW, Oberkommando der Wehrmacht, that the war against the Soviet Union had already been won within days of its start, but still, Hitler blamed the panzer generals for leaving gaps in the lines. The panzer generals were deeply frustrated since, for almost a week, their advance east had been stopped while they closed the pocket. They waited for the infantry to catch up and feared the momentum of the armoured offensive would be lost. Back in the Soviet Union, Front Commander General Pavlov and his front staff were recalled to Moscow and accused of intentional disorganization of defense and retreat without battle. They were soon executed by the NKVD for cowardice and failure to perform their duties, and their families were repressed until they were pardoned in 1956. It wouldn't be until 3 years later, on the 3rd of July 1944, that Minsk would be liberated by the Red Army and its people free of Nazi occupation.